I want to speak briefly about the group Black Lives Matter. The radical left are very clever in giving their movements names that nobody could possibly disagree with, whether we're talking Black Lives Matter or Safe Schools. But look a little deeper beyond the title to what the movement represents, and you find all sorts of unpleasant, extreme and downright dangerous agendas. I wonder whether the sportsmen, the corporates, even the politicians taking a knee in the name of Black Lives Matter know that they are supporting a radical Marxist group with a set of political goals that the overwhelming majority of people find insane, from defunding the police to dismantling capitalism and seeking reparations. To be fair, the Black Lives Matter founders are pretty honest about their worldview and the group's extreme left anti-capitalist goals. Here's a statement from the Movement for Black Lives platform, which BLM endorsed. The interlinked systems of white supremacy, imperialism, capitalism and patriarchy shape the violence we face. As oppressed people living in the US, the belly of global empire, we're in a critical position to build the necessary connections for a global liberation movement. Until we are able to overturn US imperialism, capitalism and white supremacy, our brothers and sisters around the world will continue to live in chains. Here's Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrice Collos talking about the group's Marxist ideology.
The thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories. And I think that what we really try to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many, many Black folk.
Alicia Garza, another co-founder of the group, describes herself as a queer socialist justice activist and a Marxist. These people are honest about who they are and what they stand for. But the media hasn't been honest with you about the group or its goals. There are 3 co-founders of Black Lives Matter. Here's the third, Opal Tometi, pictured with Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro, a man who leads a socialist regime with the world's most brutal and murderous police force, responsible for the highest rate of killings by law enforcement officers. Indeed, Venezuela's rate of killings by law enforcement officers is more than double the next highest country, according to official data. Here's a UN report from last year on the country's grave human rights violation, noting that in 2018, the government registered 5,287 killings purportedly for resistance to authority. Between 1st of January 19th of May 2019, another 1,569 people were killed, according to government figures. Other sources suggest the figure may be much higher. So even according to the Maduro regime's own figures, the country is responsible for the highest rate of killing by law enforcement, a per capita figure well above Syria and Afghanistan. Of course, that hasn't stopped the United Nations from electing Venezuela to the UN Human Rights Council late last year. But why would a co-founder of a group that supposedly cares about Black lives and police brutality be cozying up to a dictator with such a horrendous record? It's worth noting that this get-together in 2015 happened a few months after Maduro's police force officers murdered a number of protesters, including a 14-year-old child. But this is what the BLM co-founder said when, in the once prosperous country that has turned into an oppressive hellhole that millions have fled. She tweeted, "Currently in Venezuela, such a relief to be in a place where there is intelligent political discourse." Intelligent discourse? If you disagree with the brutal regime, you get locked up, tortured and killed. There is no discourse, only blind adherence and suffering in silence. And that's precisely what's been asked of you. If you object to Black Lives Matter's divisive brand of race politics, if you object to their anti-capitalist, anti-police, anti-meritocracy philosophies, you won't be shot, but you can be fired, cancelled, or declared a racist. If you're going to submit to the mob and take a knee, then know precisely what you're supporting. It ain't about racism or police brutality. It's about clearly defined extreme neo-Marxist ideology. You can't say you weren't warned.